2022, the year where Messi won the World Cup, the year where Will Smith smacked Chris Rock at the Oscars, and the year where Andrew Tate self-reported himself into getting arrested by the Romanian government. But not only did some wacky things happen in the world this year, but some great albums came out as well. And I felt the need to compile a list of my top 10 favorite albums to come out in 2022. I think a lot of you guys would be interested to know, as on my reaction channel, a lot of people like to see my opinions on music for whatever reason. I don't know. It's not like I'm some crazy good critic or anything, but I just be listening to the music and I be saying my thoughts on the music, and people be like, wow, that's some nice thoughts on the music. So, you know, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to tell you guys the list. I'll go from 10 to 1, and for each one, I'll explain on a surface level why I like it. I'm not going to go like the most in-depth ever, because I don't have time to do an album, like a full album review for each one of these. That'd be like 20 minutes for each song. No thank you. And you guys are going to enjoy it. No complaining. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. Or you guys will roast the ever-living shit out of this list because you guys don't like opinions. Which, if you disagree with the opinion, fair enough. If you really want to cry about the opinion, look, bro, it's just music. Don't take it too seriously. Subscribe if you're new. And before we get into it, comment your top 10 favorite albums of the year. Be really interested to see that. And let's get into it. At number 10, we got Angels and Queens Part 1, the R&B album from Gabriel's. This was actually my first taste of Gabriel's music, as I've never listened before, and I have to say, I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Not usually do I fall in love with an R&B record as much and as fast as I did with this one, but there's something about the soul in the music that really makes you listen. It's so powerful and beautiful, if nothing else. Lusk's voice throughout the album is almost indescribable. It's so mesmerizing and rich. You can also hear the gospel roots in both his singing and the production of the project, with different layers, piano playing, and other little things that add up throughout to signify this. The record's lyrics go through tougher to swallow subjects such as regret, loneliness, grief, and yeah, this is definitely one of the more emotional projects of the year. Favorite song has to be If You Only Knew, with The Blind, Angels and Queens, and Mama all right behind it. I could go a lot more in depth with this record and pretty much every record on this, but it's not an album review. I'm just saying it makes this year's top 10. You should go listen to it. It's only 27 minutes long, so it's pretty tight-knit. And part 2 comes out in March, I believe. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Moving on. At number 9, we have the Spanish album Motomami by Rosalia, which is weird because I only listened to this because of a song called Hentai. Me being the degenerate I am, I said, haha, look, a song called Hentai. This should be a banger. Press play. By the end of those few minutes, I was in tears. Okay, not literally, but damn, was that song hard. That shit hit me right there. So I had to check out the rest of the album. And damn, did it not disappoint. Like a few others on this list, it is a project that is dominated by the sheer level of artistry and self-awareness of the vocal performance, where the artist knows their voice, they know exactly how to apply it, and they just have some crazy-ass talent as well. Gabriel's had it. Another few artists on here also do this similar thing. So I love when an artist really knows how their vocals work and how to weave them into songs. The album touches upon a lot of different styles, ranging from the almost rap jazz music fusion in the first song, to the club style pop we hear in other songs, to an avant-garde thingy in another song, and just, you get the point. There's a lot of genres that are tried out here, yet the album somehow doesn't feel all over the place or random. For the most part, everything fits. Really enjoyed this one, and I'm glad I found Rosalia this year because I do really want to get into more Spanish-speaking artists in the near future. While we're on the topic of it, the best song's gotta be Hentai, right? Of course. Joking. But seriously, favorite song is either Hentai or Cute. You see how it's spelled? That's exactly how it's probably supposed to be pronounced. Don't be like, why do you say cute like that? That's just how it says it. Hentai I already talked about. It's just awesome. Cute really goes wacky on the structure side with all the switch ups and vocal effects here and there. I like that a lot. I'm kind of a nerd for that stuff, so it's a banger. Chicken Teriyaki is also a shout. I'd play that shit out of Quinceañera and get sturdy to it. Oh yeah, also, an incentive for the fans of The Weeknd out there. The third song on this album, La Fama. I don't know why I tried to say that in the thickest Spanish accent I can muster. That didn't really work. I'm an American Mexican-American, so when I try La Fama, like, it just sounds weird. But La Fama does feature The Weeknd singing in Spanish, and it's a whole lot of fun. Next, at number 8, we have Kogen, the J-pop / J-rock album from the up-and-coming artist Otto. One of my personal favorite artists out there today. Every song she makes I look forward to, and they're usually a whole lot of fun. However, this album is one that I do have a weird relationship with. I do love it, don't get me wrong, but I think I've slowly started to love it a little bit less since I first heard it. If you asked me after I first heard this, it would have been a few spots up, but now it's only at number 8, which is still great, and all of the songs are great. A few do stand out way more than the others though, and I think that's what made me debate its position on the list, because like I said, every song is good. There's just a few songs that don't shine as well, or won't have the longevity that the best songs on here do. And it's not like the normal little gap between the few feature songs on an album and the other songs being close. It's like, the gap is low-key like this, where this is good, but then it's like, damn, people are gonna fuck with these songs forever. And then we got like, it's kind of weird, right? And the song Domestic the Violence is just not a song that I like. I think it's not anything that really hinders the album. I just wish the consistency stood S tier throughout. It was a lot closer to A tier and sometimes B tier with some of these tracks, which normally is still really, really good for a record. But my expectations for an artist with so much star power, working with all these great producers who can make a full S tier 10 out of 10 album, I just have way more expectations for her than the normal artist. The best of Kogen, however, is fucking hype. Needing no introductions, the songs UTSA and Odo are still some of her best tracks to date, some of the best Japanese tracks to date. I can see cases for either of those being someone's favorite Japanese song, especially their favorite Otto song. And while we're talking about Odo, that and Motherland are genuinely great club vibe tracks, so that's a plus in my book, because I'm here to party. She understandably showcases her incredible vocal range in this project. Otto is no stranger to changing pitches a multitude of times within even one verse, one section, one hook of a song. Almost every song features a memorable hook. The production at its best truly complements her performances as well. This record also sees some of her most personal tracks in it, as when she does want to go the emotional vibe, she can. She isn't just a J-rock machine. So yeah, there are a few songs that kind of venture out of her main sound, which I would like to see more of in the future. I feel like Otto is one of those artists that could definitely experiment with a lot of different sounds and do it really well. On the One Piece Red album, Uta no Uta, she did that. Most of those songs were outside of her normal range, and it was a breath of fresh air as she did them well. But not to underestimate the peak that this album does give us, as it's still a top 10 worthy project in my brain, and I still think the best of Otto is yet to come. Favorite song on this one is definitely Odo, with Usewa, Lucky Brado, Gira Gira, Ashura-chan, and Motherland being my other faves. Next we have Overture from Midnight Grand Orchestra, the brilliant collaborators in crime. One being a VTuber named Suisei from Hololive Japan as the vocalist, the other being sound producer Taku Inoue, who here together made an orchestral dance pop album. It is a short, fun, extravagant listen that just feels good. Suisei's voice throughout the project is angelic, and I'd say pretty passionate, while the production is just as impressive, if not more. The way that they weave these classical instruments and elements into this more energetic and hip sound that J-pop listeners would be used to make something that I don't believe I've heard quite like this from a J-pop artist or team before is just goated. Especially in the stretch of songs SOS, Allegro, and Rat-a-tat. And then we get into the second half of the album that takes a more soothing turn, yet still hits just as hard. Tuning, Ryusegun, and Highway are just fucking phenomenal. Heartfelt. Highway as the closer just fills me with this weird sense of hope, and don't even get me started on that song's violin after the first hook with Suisei's background vocals. There's a few moments like that on this album that just blow me the fuck away sonically and mesh perfectly all around, making for a surprise at number 7 because I did not go into this album thinking that I would rate it so highly, yet it happened. Similarly to the Gabriel's album, it's only 25 minutes, so it does get the advantage over an album that's around an hour or more in terms of being able to not overstay its welcome or not have any tracks fall behind or feel bloated, because you don't run the risk of having filler tracks as much. You can just get what you need out of the way and bam. I'm also a sucker for orchestral shit, so you know I'm a vouch for the project that does what this one does. Favorite song is easily between SOS and Highway, but as of right now, I've been feeling SOS a bit more. Although Never Ending Midnights is also pretty raw, but I think I'm just gonna have to give it to SOS because that fucking hook has a chokehold on me right now, bro. It has a chokehold. And yeah, shout out to Suisei and Taku Inoue. Let's move on. Number 6. we have Ants from Up There by Black Country New Road. It's a art rock, experimental rock record, and I don't know what it is about this album specifically that I love. Maybe it's the almost nostalgic vibe, the slow build up to a major finale. Like, bro, the whole last half of the song Basketball Shoes, god damn, bro! It's also quite the emotional roller coaster, even if you don't include the lead singer's departure prior to this album's release. The lyrics are very dramatic, hard-hitting, and yeah, this entire album slaps. Another one with no flaws to me that I could point out if you asked me. My favorite song is between Concord or Bread Song. Howdern's instrumentation was awesome, though. Actually, you know what? Howdern's gonna be my favorite. It's my favorite. That's my favorite. It's clear as day. That's my favorite. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Definitely listen to that one. Let's move on. At number 5, the halfway point, we have Liminal Right by Kardashev. I think I'm saying that right. The only metal album on this list, which it does make me happy that a metal record made it on. It follows a story, which I'm not going to get super into. There's multiple things you could easily read it on or just listen to the record itself. But it's essentially following a man with dementia revisiting his past as his reality slowly crumbles away. It's a bit self-destructive and sad, but from that is born a gorgeous sound which accomplished what it set out to do, which was to essentially be an emotional mindfuck. That's literally what they're going for. Honestly, it's one of my favorite metal albums of all time, even if I'm not the best person to ask about that, because as a genre, I still have to really dive into it. I've heard a decent amount. Definitely more than the average music listener, but not nearly as much as other genres such as rap, Vocaloid, pop, rock, you know, emo shit, I don't know. But this album really does reignite the need for good metal in my life. Definitely a lot because of the story and the emotions, which is why I still find it fucking stupid that there's a prejudice against the genre in the first place. Or against any genre, I guess, because fans of different genres that are self-centered on one genre will judge other genres. Like if I hang out with my friends that all like rap music and I tell them that I was bumping to some Love Live music and showed them this little snippet, they would probably jump me. Not because we have beef now or anything, but because they couldn't be seen with anyone that listens to such weird music. And let's say I'm hanging out with someone that only listens to country. They might say that the rap music I'm listening to is the devil's music. Same with some rock. Same with some metal. If I'm hanging out with a fucking Taylor Swift fan, they would also probably find Japanese music weird or music from other languages. If I'm hanging out with a K-pop fan, they probably won't like anything that's not K-pop. You get it? So yeah, as someone who likes stuff from every genre that he's listened to, I understand the pain of people not realizing that there are musical pioneers in every genre, not just the one that they listen to. Oh shit, I gotta say a favorite song for this one. I really enjoyed the second song, Silvered Shadows. I thought the outro song was great. It's about 12 minutes, but has a really nice ending. Although I might give it to Cellar of Ghosts. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Look, man, these opinions can always change in the future. This is just how my brain is thinking in this very moment, right now. That's all that we can do. That's all that I'm going to do, and you better accept it. Next at number 4, we have one from my favorite rapper of all time, Kendrick Lamar, with his newest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It is a conscious hip-hop record. By that, I mean that it is a rap album primarily focused on, you know, social commentary, talking about real-world, like, conflicts. But in this album, it's definitely geared more towards Kendrick's own personal life. Lots of stuff about trauma, and just a real deep dive into this man's reflection upon his upbringing and other portions of his life up until now. And it's just a really wild ride. Sure, maybe it's not a super energetic record like Damn, maybe it's not as groundbreaking as To Pimp a Butterfly, and maybe it's not as gangster as Good Kid, Mad City. But as Kendrick evolves and matures, so does his music. And I really love this one for making me, after listening to the album, really think about my interpersonal relationships and how I interact with them, how they affect me, etc. Of course, there's so much more to this album, but like I already said, I don't have all day, so we gotta keep it moving. Favorite songs are definitely hard on this one. It's gotta be between United in Grief, N95, Auntie's Diaries, Mr. Morale, and Mother I Sober. United in Grief, because the beautiful intro leading into a really interesting piano cut off into his voice, up until the world's tightest drums kick in. And the song from there is just a really beautiful mesh of it all. N95 is probably the most commercial track on here, and it's really fun. Baby Keem brings the energy. It's a banger. Auntie's Diaries is just a crazy one for me because a lot of the stuff he brings up about homophobia and transphobia being normalized back when we were young, so we might have not seen an issue with it, and having to, when you're older, just really understand and learn through being open to the conversation about this problem that's still very much real today. I know for me personally, when I was younger, that type of stuff happened. Like, no one really noticed that being anti-LGBT was an issue because it was normalized. When I was younger, I would say the F slur and go along with really nasty jokes towards this group, which younger me thought, oh, since I was taught this isn't right, it's not right. But as I got older, maybe around like middle school, I started like meeting gay people, hanging out with gay people, trans people in high school. And I'm just like, bro, who the fuck cares? Like, my entire philosophy in life, my main philosophy is this: as long as people are fucking vibing, not breaking the law or nothing, I do not give a shit what you do, and that's it. I do not care. I do not care. I love everyone, man. So yeah, that song, it's one that definitely hits hard for me. I can relate to it. Mr. Morale is probably my favorite song for pure rap purposes. Kendrick is angry on that one. Mother I Sober is easily the most emotional one here, besides maybe We Cry Together. That song was a movie. Ooh, I didn't even think about that one until just now. I don't know why, but if I had to choose one, I think it's going to be United in Grief, which is kind of weird, I think, to most people. There's something about the production and structure of that song in particular that keeps bringing me back. I've listened to it way too many times. Also, I want to add that this album and the next one are like neck and neck for me. They're kind of interchangeable for numbers 3 and 4, so don't trip too hardly about this placement. But with that said, number 3 is Hellfire, the rock album by Black Meaty. This one is fucking crazy. It took a bit of time for me to fully grasp this one, with all the weird and new combinations of instrumentals and vocal deliveries on this album. The energy of this album at its highest sounds like what being out of breath while running feels like. The pace of a track going from 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye, like on the song Sugar/Sue, is exhilarating. Meanwhile, it can also go from 100 to 0 in the same time frame, like the follow-up track Eat Men Eat. And both of them are just as good. I like the chill shit on this. I like the hard shit on this. It's a really progressive rock record that, to me at least, feels as if it's pushing the envelope of what modern day rock can fulfill. I have no gripes about this album at all. It is perfect. Okay, I guess the halftime interlude isn't needed, but I don't really hate it either. And it's literally 26 seconds, so who cares? Favorites on this are Sugar Sue, Welcome to Hell, The Defense, and Still. But The Race is About to Begin is pretty good as well. Fuck, it's another hard one to choose a favorite song for. You know what? I'm not even going to choose one. This is my channel, damn it. I can do what I want. Okay, number 2 is an awesome one. We have I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. It's an art pop / folktronica record with some elements of emo rap and just overall experimentalism. Not only is this album sonically impressive, with Quadeca doing basically everything on this record besides the mastering, which was done by the wonderful Christian Wright from Abbey Road Studio. If you don't know that studio, it's pretty famous for being where the Beatles recorded a lot of their songs. No big deal. But it also features a pretty impressive and consistent storyline, following Quadeca as a ghost going through the different facets of his transition between life and death. Not to go too much into detail, but if that sounds like something that interests you, you should definitely peep, as diving into the story and getting your own interpretation of the lyrics is one of the most fun parts of this record's initial listening experience. This album also showcases some of my favorite features of the year, with Danny Brown's super in-your-face rapping from the perspective of carbon monoxide, along with his energy perfectly opposing that of Quadeca's super depressing and melancholic delivery on the track House Settling. Oh my gosh, that song is so good. And also the Sunday service choir at the end of the track, Fractions of Infinity. Man, that shit slapped. It was so beautiful and really helped seal the deal of this album's narrative quality before heading into the outro. Also, look, I have an apology to make. I hyped up my album review video for this album. I wrote it, I was ready to record it, and then I just didn't. It's not like I didn't do it for any specific reason. I just kept pushing it off. And I'll be honest, it's way too late for a review of this album now. At least it feels like, to me, it is way too late. So I'm not going to be doing it anymore. My bad, y'all. But at least it made the top 3. Woo! But before we move on to the next album, let's talk about my favorite tracks on this album, which is yet another one where it's fucking impossible. I can't do it, no! But if I had to choose one, I think it's still Born Yesterday, with Tell Me a Joke, Knots, and the intro song Sorry for Dying being close seconds. Shout out to Quadeca. Here are a few honorable mentions before we get into our number 1, And remember guys, I can't mention every album. If your favorite album isn't here, don't take it personally. I'm just some Mexican in a chair, bro. Our first honorable mention is Don FM. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's probably The Weeknd's best project to date. I just prefer the other projects I named here more. It's rough making lists, man. Denzel Curry also had a great record this year with Melt My Eyes to Your Future. Honestly considered putting it here as well. It's kind of similar to Kendrick's album in terms of content and concept, which I did love about this album as well. Denzel's energy is great, and it's an awesome album all the way through. Next we have Canaria Code from Canaria. It's a Vocaloid album. It's pretty depressing that a Vocaloid album didn't make this year's list, but Canaria came close, being one of the newest, most exciting Vocaloid artists that we've seen in a while. And it was going to be at number 10 instead of the Gabriel's album, but it is, by technicality, a greatest hits album, and I don't want to include a greatest hits album because to me that feels like cheating. I'm going to explain why it's kind of weird and could have been accepted, but I got to draw the line hard, or else in the future I could go off and accept more greatest hits albums, and that's just not fair. But only 2 songs from this are from another album. The rest of the songs are singles, which if we got rid of the songs from the other album, it just would have been a singles album, which is fine. Then it would have been allowed, because that's different from greatest hits. If it's just a bunch of singles that end up becoming an album, that's fine. But those 2 songs being from that other album does make it a greatest hits because it's what it says on the thing. It's a greatest hits album. So it kind of just feels weird as those songs are from 2 years ago. But the other songs on this album is just more of what we already loved Canaria for. With all the wacky beats and pretty catchy flows. It's just fun. It's very fun. Favorite song on this one is definitely Identity. 'Tis a banger. And yeah, can't wait for more Canaria in the future. Next is Uta no Uta by Otto, who made the album Kogen that I already mentioned. This is the one that I debated for a bit being better than Kogen, but it's a weird comparison. Fleeting Lullaby is my favorite song off of this project, and probably one of the best that I've ever heard when it comes to incorporating rap into Japanese tune. Because for the most part, out of the Japanese music that I've heard, I'll be completely honest, rap isn't one of the strongest things from the sphere. There's some good ones, I'll give them that, but for the most part, it's kind of hard to find. But Fleeting Lullaby, that second verse, woohoo, so fire. The rest of the songs are also amazing. But I gave it to Kogen because it is a slightly better project and it has more S-tier songs in my opinion. The 2 best songs in this album were easily Fleeting Lullaby and Backlight, which were also S-tiers. And honestly, looking back a year from now, this could swap places with Kogen or rank above it. I don't know. But yeah, this is also a great album. And the fact that Otto almost got 2 top 10s for me in the same year, how the fuck? But it's finally time. Let's get into what we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. And at number 1, yep, you guessed it, Cinderella by Mori Calliope. You guys really thought you were going to get through this entire video without me mentioning this masterpiece of an album? In this album, Mori Calliope tackles the hardest challenge of her career. I can't do this. The real number 1 is The Forever Story by Jid, another conscious hip-hop album. And man, do I have a lot to say about this one. Jid in this album has made one of those hip-hop records that truly showcases what rap as a genre can be at its peak, with insane flows, switch-ups, storytelling, and more. The production matches the artistry and ambitions that Jid brings to the table, also having switch-ups, also bringing the intensity, having the emotions, using some orchestral shit, some hard-ass drums, just the overall range, man. We get songs talking about Jid's family, we get club bangers like Surround Sound and Dance Now, we get super in-depth songs about his relationships like System M. But yeah, the overall most impressive thing to me is definitely Jid's flows. We've already known how good of a rapper Jid is, but man, does he take it to another level. He masterfully crafted every single verse on this thing. The wordplay was exceptional, and every single different voice he used to deliver these verses, so sharp. The album really is just Jid taking every good thing about his discography and multiplying it on one full-length project. I could talk about this album all day long, but this is like the 4th time I've said it. This isn't an album review. I'm just fucking sucking this album's meat right now, and you guys already know it's my number 1 of the year, so I think we can wrap this video up. But I will say, Crack Sandwich is definitely my favorite song on this one, but oh boy, is there a fuck ton of contenders. Hit after hit after hit after hit. Congratulations to JID for cementing himself as a future legend in hip-hop with this one. Already adding on to his great discography before. My God, is he goated. Now, with all that said, there are a good few albums that, off of what others tell me, could make this list that I just haven't gotten to listen to yet. But this video kind of has to come out before the year's over. So, you know, I'm recording it literally on the 31st. It's a little bit past midnight. So I'm trying to get this out in like the next 24 hours, but I wouldn't mind doing updates a few years from now since I'm going to do videos like this every single year. I could do a looking back on a certain year's favorite albums and remake the top 10 or judge what my taste was back then. So yeah, subscribe if you want to stick around for that. In like 5 years, I'll do it. I think that's enough time. 5 years. That works. Heck yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and like I said earlier, please drop your top 10s because not only do I want to know your top 10s, but I also want to listen to anything I may not have heard before because what is better than finding great music? Nothing. Music is the best medium, and I will die on that hill. You see all this shit behind me? Anime, novels, books, manga, there's movies in my other room, everything like that. It's goated, but music is better. And I'll say that with my chest. But yeah, everyone have a great day, a great 2023 as well. Listen to music, find great music, spread the good word of the music, and bye.